Hey everyone, welcome back to Piedra Designs. If any of you have watched, I think it was my second video where I did the wood flower from piece of cherry. This was the remaining cutoff of that limb. If you remember at the time, that was a very green piece. It's only been about 2 months since I did that. But in that time, I have dried this piece in the microwave. When I started off, this piece was weighing almost 430 grams. Through about 2 days worth of minute and a half cycles in the microwave, followed by anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, just depending on when I remembered, of sitting out and letting the moisture evaporate out. This thing is now weighing somewhere around 376 grams, 377. After the last cycle in the microwave, actually, after a day or two of that, it had actually gained a little weight back. So I feel pretty confident that I've got this piece dry since it actually went ahead and pulled some moisture back into it. And that is not due to our climate here where I'm at. We're a very dry climate. So I feel pretty confident this is dry. What we're going to do is I'm going to cast this in a little bit of resin, and then we will see about turning something out of it. Not sure what yet. That right there is exactly why we have wax paper all over the scale. All right, I think we got it mixed up good. This epoxy is a new one to me. This is a floral epoxy resin from the epoxy resin store. This particular resin is a very, very low viscosity. I think whatever I'm not familiar with the viscosity scale, but I think this, according to their website, is rated down around 150. Very similar, supposedly, to water. It is a little bit thicker than water, but not much. I thought this would be a good advantage for one thing, just kind of understanding some basic hydraulic principles. Once I put this into the pressure pot, in theory at least, under pressure, that lower viscosity liquid should flow into all the cracks of this piece a little better than something that's thicker. The downside to that is because it's such a thin liquid, and this stuff, according to their paperwork, has an open work time of almost 4 hours. So we've got a couple of experiments going on this one project. Number one, we're going to see how well this this resin penetrates all these fine cracks on here. Second experiment is, will it hold color with an alcohol ink? I'm thinking the alcohol ink shouldn't be a problem, even with that long open work time. But then the third part of the project is going to be putting some Black Diamond Ghost Copper Pearl powder in there, and we'll see if that will maintain in the resin over that long work time, or if it's going to all settle out to the bottom of the mold before it sets up. All right, that was 5 drops of color in there. We'll see how much that looks like it colors anything up. And now for the pigment powder. This is Ghost Copper Pearl from Black Diamond. And again, this is the third part of this experiment, just to see if this stuff will stay in suspension long enough for the resin to cure out, or if we're going to just lose it all to the bottom of the mold. Which doesn't matter to me either way, I guess, really. Trying to figure out just how this stuff will work. The other reason I tried this particular brand and for this viscosity is for trying to do a seal coat on something that's going to be an epoxy finish on a, whatever piece I'm working on at the time. If I decide I want to put an epoxy finish on it, I've got a project in the works right now that I had serious issues with to start with another brand of epoxy, and the bubbles in that, if I don't end up throwing that project away, if I keep working on it, if I can get it to work, I'm hoping this floral epoxy, I hope because it's so thin, I can just do a seal coat with it, get everything sealed up, and then not have to worry so much about the bubbles. All right, I think we got that mixed up pretty good now. Not seeing any unmixed blobs of pigment powder in there. This is a real close fit on this little Folgers coffee can mold, so I wanted to be sure I get some underneath the piece, trying to avoid the trapped air bubbles. And of course, my luck, looks like I didn't get quite enough mixed up. Gonna mix up another little bit and get poured in there. All right. Even my second mix up of the resin, it's kind of telling me already what I need to know about this stuff. It will flow good, and so That's flowing into those cracks good, and or the wood is just really drawing that resin in. I'm not gonna mess with mixing up anymore at this point. We're gonna get this in the pressure pot and let it get set up and see just what we come up with on the other side. I am gonna have to take this into the house where it will stay a little warmer. I don't want to have temperature issues as part of the reason this doesn't set up right. Alright, there we are, about 60 psi inside the pot. According to the instructions for this resin, full cures roughly 16 to 24 hours based on a room temperature of 77. Well, my house isn't going to be 77, so we'll probably let this set for 2 days before we undo it and see what we have. So I forgot to get the camera going when I took this out of the pressure pot. When it went in the pressure pot, that was a Friday around noonish. It didn't come out of the pressure pot until Sunday, that following Sunday, about 4:30-ish. So this thing was in the pressure pot for 52 plus hours. When I took it out of the pressure pot, it was still not set up hard. I could push on this resin and indent that. So I left it setting out of the pot for a few days, and gradually, day after day, it did harden up a little more. I think it's fully cured now, but you can tell that it wasn't fully cured when it came out of the pot and I took it out of the mold. Everything was completely smooth, but now there are air bubbles that still showed up after I demolded it, even after 52 plus hours in the mold. So that resin for sure at least doesn't like my house, even though, I mean, it's not 77 in my house, but it's not freezing in the house either. The other part of this experiment was to see if this resin would hold the mica powders in suspension long enough. And I don't know how well you guys can see that, but it really didn't. It looks like all of the mica powder has settled down at the bottom. Here on this particular side, you can really see a separation. I think there might still be a little bit that stayed suspended up here, but there's not much, if any. Most of it did settle out. So that particular resin will not be good for using the mica powder. It does look like it did hold the color, the ink, the alcohol ink, pretty good. It is not a clear resin. It might be, it's just hard to say with how much colorant I put in and how thin this is right here. I probably just didn't have enough color. And for all I know, that may be part of why this didn't set up too, was the amount of extra material I put in it. Between the alcohol inks and the mica powders, it might have just been too much for this particular resin. I don't know. I haven't done enough, worked with enough resin projects and enough different brands of resin to know if that is usually a factor. I mean, I know you can obviously get carried away with anything and have it be too much. Um, but I didn't think I was anywhere near too much mica powder in this or alcohol ink for the amount it was. Anyways, we're gonna mount it up between centers now. I'm gonna try to get a tenon turned on this end. Since all of this did settle out, I'm just gonna turn my resin down here, or my tenon down here on this end. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should turn a tenon on this end, and maybe we can. Well, no, I've got these air bubbles. I guess I'm just gonna put the tenon on this end, and we'll get it mounted in the chuck, and I'll see if I can get maybe a shallow lidded box out of this. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get established my base where I'm going to part off. I want to get as close as I can without running the parting tool into the chuck. But I want to be able to leave as much wood as I can. And then we will start taking this top down a little bit and see where we get, see if that resin is only at this level here, or if up here farther in the cracks, maybe if it's a little higher. We'll see what we have. I'm trying to see if I can get down where I've got resin all the way across. I may not have enough room left in this piece to do a lidded box. It may just end up being a little bowl. much if I try to, because I don't have any thinner parting tool than this 3/16, and my, as I part that off, and I've got to take more than one bite just to avoid having that pinch and catch. There really isn't going to be much for a lidded box, but who says it has to be a deep one? Let's go with it, see if we can make it work. Alright, I've got this lid down a little smaller than what would be the base. I'm going to get that base back down to about the same size. Then I'm going to, while this is all still one piece, I'm going to get a bunch of my sanding done on the top of this before I part this off and start the very shallow little box. Alright, got that sanded up a little bit for now. Gonna go ahead and get this lid parted off, and we'll start working on the bottom of the box.